I'm Ryan Pack,
And I'm Nicole Barlow.
and this is Soundtrack Your Life. Today, our guest is Tyler, host of I Turn My Podcast On, a podcast dedicated to the rock band Spoon. Welcome to Soundtrack Your Life, Tyler.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
So, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about I Turn My Podcast On?
Well, it's a podcast about the greatest rock band of our time, Spoon. As you mentioned, there is the title came from a infamous song, I Turned My Camera On. So that can be confusing, as well as I copied the album art from said album. So basically, it just started with being a huge fan online for many years. And like everybody, COVID happened and everybody had more time. I'd been working on this idea for some years behind the scenes, and there's proof, there's receipts of that. But yeah, when that all happened, I had more time, and I reached out to the lead singer, songwriter, Britt Daniel, and like it just happened that he had time as well. We started interviewing, and I have like over 18 hours of interviews with him, as well as other band members, producers, and kind of turned into this whole project. So I'm trying to do my best at making it as good as possible. So it's not super prolific. You're not getting an episode every week or every other week. It's a pretty big archival project. I'm currently talking with the drummer Jim Eno. So we're working in. It's kind of a season 2, if you will, that's going to be coming, starting with Gimme Fiction. So we did the first 4 albums, a really good set of EPs, and so now we're kind of working on the pre-production, and then we'll get those episodes out as soon as we can. But just a big love letter to the band, and they're awesome.
Well, we are so thrilled to have you. This is a long time coming. We love meeting other fellow members of the Britt Daniel Appreciation Society. I like talking to someone about Spoon, and they don't think that I'm saying something about like utensils. So It's great. This is amazing.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you for coming on.
And of course, we did the most obvious thing is to not cover the soundtrack by the band and super involved Britt Daniel, but we're talking about Batman, so that made perfect sense. But no, in all honesty, that's how we kind of get in contact. Is you did a great episode, and everyone should go listen to that on the film Stranger Than Fiction, and yeah, that's kind of how this whole back and forth talking about podcasting together happened.
Right. Well, since we totally screwed up and did not include Tyler on our Stranger Than Fiction episode, here we are talking about Batman Forever. Because why not?
Perfect. So it's a 1995 Joel Schumacher film, or I guess the late Joel Schumacher. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
But this soundtrack came out before like Spoon was a real band.
Yeah, definitely.
So why are we talking about Batman Forever, Tyler?
Well, it was one of my youth-shaping soundtracks, pieces of music. The movie was as well, but I have a whole film and TV relationship with Batman. But yeah, the music was just hitting me at a really good time where I was, I was born in the late 80s, grew up in the 90s. My mom I'm pretty sure I got it through the CD, the catalog where you pay $35 for one CD and then get like 13 for a penny. So every so often,
Columbia.
Yeah, like every so often, that's how my mom would let me pick out a couple albums. She's like, well, they're only a penny. I guess I can get you 3 cents and you can pick out 3 albums. So, every once in a while I get to pick out some music. That was pretty cool. And yeah, I don't remember anyone introducing it to me. I think I just discovered it that way. And then it became a daily driver on the boombox. It was on, and I recorded myself in a Batman t-shirt singing Seal, and kind of the rest is history. Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, we're gonna need that after the show. So
I don't have the technology. See, that's the thing.
Nope, I'm going to your mom's house. Give me her address. I'm gonna go to the basement, attic, whatever, dig that out, and then it's gonna be on Instagram.
If it exists, we have the technology.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's on a VHS tape in my basement. That would be really fun. I honestly don't even have a VCR anymore, but I should probably try to find that so you can use it for promo. That would be pretty.
Tyler's
incredible.
mom, if you're listening, come through. contact us, DM us. Because I need that. That feels very, very 90s, peak 90s. I feel like this soundtrack is, in a lot of ways, peak 1995. I mean, the fact that you just mentioned is like the Columbia House / BMG music buying scam, which some of us are old enough to remember.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was great though. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, there was no. I mean, I could obviously read. I didn't have my own magazine subscriptions though as a kid. Besides like a something you'd get at the school library, and so that was how I found out about music. My mom's and dad's collections, and then this was a new world. I had a portable CD player, I had a boombox, and I could like pick out CDs that looked cool, and nothing looked cooler in the '90s than Batman.
Yeah, to me, when I picture this, which is like the poster / whatever jewel box cover, I just picture it in like that discount bin in a warehouse music that smells like stale Pop Secret and industrial plastic. It's totally that vibe. Maybe like some traces of Bath and Body Works. Like, it's so 1995. It's so like commercial 1995 to me.
It is, yeah. And I don't know, do you guys get kind of in depth with the like the soundtrack and movie, like how it's? I know in some episodes you do, but basically, this movie was a reaction to the last movie, and the reason like it was more fun and kiddie, like because McDonald's. You want to talk about commercials? And McDonald's said it was hard to make toys for the last movie, so they had to make a movie that was more like fun and bright, and that's kind of like where part of the concept of this movie came from.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of intentionality with the producers behind the scenes saying to Tim Burton specifically, pressuring him like, hey, we really want to make this something for like the MTV generation. We need something that's like more comic book and more fun and more sellable. Like, please don't be weird anymore. We don't want weird Batman. We want like McDonald's Happy Meal Batman.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's why Tim Burton walked away from the project and Schumacher came on, and there's this whole kind of like shift in the 90s Batman cinematic universe.
Yeah, he definitely wanted to go more for like a campy comic book sort of look. They felt that Tim Burton's version was too dystopian.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it? Dystopian?
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's his own thing. It's a Tim Burton. It's a Burtopian. He's got his own world of
Right.
people.
Burtopia.
Edward Scissorhands could walk into the first two Batman movies and you'd think not twice about it. Like, oh yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Schumacher wanted to cut ties so badly that he said, make the score as un-Danny Elfman as possible.
Yeah, which is so funny to me. He was literally like, hey, don't be inspired by Danny Elfman, which who says that? Like, don't listen to Danny Elfman, that hack.
Yeah, it's made like some of the greatest scores ever. By the way, did you ever check out or any of the? I think it's Elliot Goldsmith who did the score. Or do any of those Batman themes ring in your head? Like if you rewatched parts of the movie? Because honestly, I think they're pretty good. Like the Batman theme in this movie, I think is pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's respectable. I think with any Batman movie, the composed score resonates more maybe than, at least when you're watching the film, than like the soundtrack itself, right? Yeah. This is like peak era songs inspired by the film. So it has that the soundtrack itself has that very like, that's what I call music compilation sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Because I think the rundown is that there's actually only 5 songs from the soundtrack that actually make it into the movie. That's it.
Yes.
5.
Yes, you're correct. Yes, I had that notes too. And only 3 are in the movie. Like the other 2 are just in the credit sequence.
Totally. So it barely even registers, right? Like you're mostly getting the score because that's what's like iconic, quintessential Batman. Like that's what carries the film. Batman, I mean, unless you're talking about like Bat Dance.
That's right.
Which I feel has like the Prince songs, maybe a different story.
Yeah. Agreed.
Also, like maybe in this one you could consider the Riddler's Method Man theme.
Yeah.
To be like maybe more incorporated.
That's really the only like literal association with the movie. I mean, it's about a character and it's in the movie, but yeah, right. You look at all. I mean, there's like a ton of covers. There's, like the most famous song, I'm sure we'll get in depth about, was like a song that he had written years prior, and then they like upped it into the soundtrack. So
Yeah, and it didn't blow up until Joel Schumacher shot him in front of the bat signal.
Shirtless or open shirt, or yeah, exactly.
Open shirted Seal.
Yeah.
And for the kids at home, we are talking about the most well-known song from this soundtrack, which is "Kiss from a Rose" by Seal.
Suck it, Bono.
Suck it, Bono. It's the most known song from this soundtrack. Like, let's be honest.
It is, and I do like it. Yeah, okay, yeah, I agree. It is, hands down.
It was everywhere. This song was everywhere.
Reached #1 on the U.S. charts. Nominated for MTV Movie Awards. Like, yeah, it was literally everywhere.
Like, Seal is still coasting on the strength of this one track. Seal got to marry Heidi Klum on the strength of this like one song. Like, look, can you guys name another Seal song? I can't.
Brandis can.
I can.
Okay, I'm in the minority.
I can't.
Everybody's a Seal fan now.
I can't name it, but you can.
6 here.
You'll know it if it goes.
Oh yeah, that one. I feel like if you watched VH1 in the mid '90s, you would hear that one.
Yeah.
He also covered "Fly Like an Eagle" by Steve Miller Band for Space Jam.
That's right.
Yeah,
and that's why Brandis knows that song.
That's
God,
right.
Seal to me, shit. You're right. I do know some Seal songs,
right.
but still, like when we look back at Seal, I feel like this is still maybe like the top of his tower of song contributions.
Song of the year, record of the year, male pop solo, Grammy.
Yeah,
like that's huge. That's impact, especially for that time when like that shit really mattered.
Yeah, and again, it has nothing to do with the movie. It was made years in advance.
And honestly, it would make more sense for Batman and Robin, which had Poison Ivy, because then you would have Kiss from a Rose, and she deals with plants.
Well, and I don't know if you knew or had the same misheard lyric that I did, but I always thought it was "Rose on a Grave," and you have like the Batman imagery where they're dropping roses on the grave. That's like in almost every Batman movie, but it's not. It's gray, and I didn't realize that until like 20 years later. And
well, that's because it should be grave.
Right, he was wrong. I think.
Why? What is this "Kiss from the Gray" on the? What does that even mean?
"Kiss from Rose on a Grave." I think they can take the Grammy back at this point, realizing that the lyrics were
revoked.
Should have been grave.
But really, like, what does that even?
Performance enhancing lyrics.
I don't know. Yeah, and Dolby Atmos surround, you can hear it on each side now.
There's an Atmos version of the song.
Why not? That lute, was that a lute? Okay, so the instrumentation on that song is so goofy too. It sounds like a song that would work in like what's that medieval movie that had like a contemporary soundtrack?
Knight's
There
Tale?
you go. Good pull. You guys
I was going to say Marie Antoinette.
Oh no, Knight's Tale's the one they do like "We Will Rock You" in it, right? I think.
Right.
Like golden years.
Yeah, right. But I think it would work in that movie. Like you got that instrumentation is so weird. Even for the 90s, it doesn't remind me of anything else. It is really weird in that way, musically.
It's a weird song, and it's the kind of song that you wouldn't think would be an immediate hit.
No. And
it's even a weird inclusion on the soundtrack, which is already kind of a random mix of genres. Because it's like, it seems like it's a mix of what the young people like.
Yes.
Offspring had just kind of blown up. U2 had become the biggest band in the world at this point. Yeah, in quotes.
Oh, yeah.
You got Method Man because the kids love the hip hop and the Wu-Tang Clan.
That Method Man song, that Riddler theme song from Method Man is so fucking funny. The fact that it exists is the most hilarious thing to me. Like, let's give Jim Carrey's Riddler like a Method Man.
I wish he would play that song live.
I wish two things about it. I wish someone on the internet, here's a call, please edit that into the brand new Batman movie with the Riddler. That would be
With Paul
fantastic.
Dano?
Yes, the Paul Dano Riddler, because that'd just be amazing. And I've tried. I don't have the video editing technicality to do that, but that'd be fantastic. You know,
Oh, I need it. Now that you've put it in my brain, I
but that
need
intro
it.
where he's just, you know, so creepy, that would be great. But also, cool fact about that song, I read it somewhere, heard it somewhere, and didn't realize it for 20 years either, because I was really into the original 60s Batman. I have fond memories every time I spent the night at my grandma's. We watched Adam West Batman and Golden Girls. They were in like a block right next to each other.
Ah.
Wow.
So
That's beautiful.
Fan-
That makes me feel like cozy. I
fantastic
love it.
evenings. But they sampled that. That melody is the sample of that for RZA. So that was really cool, and I never noticed that as much as I listened to and watched that show. And the
I
song.
don't even care if this is out on a limb, but for me, this is probably one of the more listenable songs on the soundtrack. At least it's
It's
fun.
just goofy. Yeah, it's goofy. Okay, so let's get into that. Like, how many, if you want to talk, how many songs do you think on here are? Because I probably have a high number, and for sounds of it, you think from that comment, I think you have a low number. How many of these like good songs like you'd listen to?
Oh,
Oh no.
I don't want to answer first. Ryan, you answer first. How are we defining good?
Well, yeah. So that's the thing too. Is I have the bias of like it being a part of my youth. So there's still some songs like I've re-listened to many times as we prepared for this, as well.
I'm
as
gonna go
watch-
6.
Okay.
6?
Okay.
Sorry, I'm like tipping my hand. Tyler, what's your number?
So coming into this, I was saying 12, but I think I'm down to 11. Like 11 songs that I would listen to any day of the week and be like, it's pretty good. Maybe 10. I'm teetering on 2 of them. The ones I'd for sure cut out though, the Devlin song and the Devlins. You talk about, the kids were really into Method Man, The Offspring, and the Devlins. I've never heard of another song by them. And the Eddie Reader, that's also a really bad, not a great song in my opinion. But
there are
I might be up to 8.
really, you're up to 8? I'm like maybe 4 that I would truly listen
That's
to,
cool.
where
That's
I'm like,
cool. That's
yeah, like these work for me. I can listen to this independent of it being like a campy thing. That again, I think Tyler, your point about like nostalgia being strong, if you have connection to this and you remember like rocking it on your boombox, like that's completely different.
Nicole, let's start with the Iggy Pop cover. What do you think of that?
Oh, Jesus. Why are you doing this to me? I feel like I feel very put on the spot by this.
This was not
soundtrack.
one of my 8, so I just assumed that you'd find it sacrilegious.
Not one of my 4.
Is that on there?
not-
You like that one?
No,
It's not my fave.
it is
It's not my fave. I think the thing about it is it's such a bizarre conglomeration of 90s songs that don't really flow together or have any connection to the movie. And then there's some songs on here by like legitimately really great artists. You know, there's like a PJ Harvey song thrown on here. There's a Nick Cave song on this soundtrack.
That's incredible.
I think like somebody behind the scenes was like, okay, we need like this kind of gothy, dark, industrial vibe because it's Batman. It's Batman. Batman is those things. Make it Gotham. And so they went out and they got the artists that they felt maybe would give it that vibe. But they're maybe not like the strongest songs from some of those artists or like my favorite songs from those artists. So that makes it tough for me.
You can blame Jolene Cherry for this gothy vibe. She also did the soundtrack supervision for The Crow.
I mean, listen, The Crow is a great soundtrack. I have very different feelings towards the Crow soundtrack, which I think is this but better, if that makes sense. Same intention, different results.
I agree with that.
So,
And like, why is Flaming Lips here?
Because they're
But
on
how
Warner
did
Brothers
you-
Records.
I love that song.
It's a good song. It's
Okay.
one of my 4 that I would listen to, and I think it's a
Okay.
good song.
So there's the why that we can, and I think you answered it. Yeah, Warner Brothers Records. So they're just going to have all these artists. But then it's like, okay, The how. How does it make you feel? I got it, and I want to go back. Sorry, let's start. I just want to start back on the first track that we talked about. U2. It sounded like you didn't like it. I love this song. I love this song. I'm a huge U2 like defender. I really like U2.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you the big $20 million question then, because I need to know what made you a U2 fan? What do you like about U2? Because there's so many eras of U2 also. So I feel like
Yeah.
this is like it's a valid question in the context of this conversation we're going to get to.
So I'd say War is my favorite album. It's a great record. I like the Unforgettable Fire as well. So, I mean, I grew up listening to it. You know, I grew up listening to U2. My parents had the records, the tapes. So, like, their singles, like that 1980 to 1990, like, best of CD, it's like 14 songs. I used to listen to that all the time. This song wasn't on there. That came in a different collection. But why do I like them? It's not many people associate the like memes and jokes about their like personal feelings on the world and whatever. I could sure, whatever, but no, the music, I don't know, I like the music. I think Bono has a cool voice. I think Edge is a cool guitar player. I think Pride in the Name of Love's probably one of my top U2 songs. But this was a song that like bridged their 90, because they didn't have an album. They had like, I think, an album like 93 and 97. I don't really like those late 90s stuff. I like the 80s, early 90s, and then honestly some of their last few albums I went through, and I kind of liked some of the songs. Isn't that the weird?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair answer. I like that answer, Tyler. I think I'm with you in that I feel like 80s U2 is far superior to 90s
early
U2.
90s. 90 Octung Baby 91 is an awesome album. Do you like?
And this song from this soundtrack is, I think, that era, right?
That's like the end of their 90s. It's like the end of that era, and then they got like the pop album, and then the early 2000s. I'm not a big fan of.
I'll take this song over anything they released in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow, big.
20 years, 2002. I would probably agree with you.
And the song in question, for those following along at home and that don't know the sound, it's Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me. I always get it like inverted and fucked up, but it's that, right?
It also had a badass music video.
It had a good music video. The music video was like an animated video, and Bono is there, like the whole band is there, and they're all animated, and it's sort of cartoony and cool. Like I remember the music video maybe being more appealing to me than the song itself.
Never saw the video as a kid, and I don't.
You should see it.
Never seen it.
Never seen it. It's good. It's actually like a nice.
You'd think I would. You'd think I would have, but I mean, obviously at that time you couldn't just like type in on the internet and look up a video. I would think.
Yeah, you would have to have MTV.
Yeah, well, and I did, but I would think this would be pretty popular because again, there was like no album. They had a album in the early 90s and then late 90s. So this was like their only really big release for quite a few years. What was the album after Octung Baby? I'm trying to remember. I think it's
Zootopia.
Zootopia?
No, Zootopia, yeah.
Zootopia
is that Disney movie with the fox.
I always call it Zootopia because of that movie. Yeah. But that album has that awesome collaboration with Johnny Cash. The Wanderer is the last track on that album. That's a really cool track. If you ever heard that one. But anyway.
I want to preface anything that I say about U2 with the troubles are over. Bono lives in a castle.
Please apologize for putting that album on all
U2
our
fans
iPods.
Don't come for me. I'm pretty sure. Right, exactly.
But that's the thing.
Amends have been made. It's okay to make fun of U2 if you feel like making fun of U2. Like I think they can handle it.
I agree.
It's gonna be all right.
I agree. I just think it's very funny. That whole thing. I never listened to that album for like years, and then one day I'm like, oh yeah, I should listen to that. Just why not? That free one, and there's actually some pretty good songs on there. Why? I agree. I don't think everyone should just have it without wanting it, but so this isn't bad.
One of the funniest. Speaking of Zootopia, I got a Zootopia segue, you guys. So this song, Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me, Kick Me in the Pants, whatever it's called.
Throw me down the laundry
I don't
chute.
know. Like it's got like 27
4
words. It's
titles.
like a Fiona Apple title. This
Damn.
song was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Original Song. Can you tell me what it lost to? And I'll give you a hint. It is an animated film.
95. An Elton John song from The Lion King.
That you are sort of close. It's even better than that, though.
Even better than that.
It's so good.
I don't know. I'm trying to. Was it Lion King or did Aladdin come out in 95? Aladdin?
Yeah, that I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. Go ahead.
So here it
No
is.
clue.
So U2 lost Best Original Song to Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas,
Okay.
which is very funny to me for some reason. I mean, it's just funny to me. I don't know why. It's like
Who sang
U2
that
just
song?
being taken down.
Who sang?
It's
Pocahontas.
Alan
Who sang
Menken,
that
Stephen
song?
Schwartz song.
Pocahontas. Oh, so it wasn't even like a famous musician that did a Disney movie? Oh, cool.
Judy
Oh, that's
Kuhn.
actually cool. I didn't know. You know, so many times they have like the famous musician do a song
was
for the Disney movie.
basically the
Like,
actress.
obviously,
Yeah,
Elton
and the
John.
other funny aspect of this is that the same song, this song was also nominated for a Razzie for Worst Original Song, and it lost to some song called Walk into the Wind from Showgirls. So it was neither the worst or the best,
Razzie.
I guess, critically.
The other note I do have on that song, and we talked about in the credits, that is a super long part. It's like a minute and a half or over, and then the Seal song is just like 20 some seconds at the end, and then it fades out, and the movie's over. So it's really weird how the biggest song is just like 20 seconds at the very end. Like people have already left the theater, well out of the theater.
Yeah, super weird, right? It's like
Yeah.
this multi-pronged marketing machine that they created around this film that I think almost overshadows the film itself, which is maybe a good thing because it's maybe not the best Batman.
No.
I don't know.
Not at all. But did you guys rewatch it all recently? Do you rewatch movies or favorite thing show?
I have seen it multiple times because I love terrible things.
Yeah. So,
and I rewatched a little bit of it today just to kind of, get my memory back. And now
I was rewatching some of it this morning.
her character is ridiculous, and I forgot.
I don't think Nicole Kidman knows what movie she's in.
You know, you forget like some of the adult conversations in movies because they're like, just go over your head. Her character is terrible, and honestly, I thought I liked Val Kilmer more than I did as Batman. Like he was pretty good Batman, but I think it's how they made the movie. The Batman is just very, just even the Bruce Wayne.
I blame the filmmakers.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
Because I don't think it's necessarily his fault. But the one, oh man, that's sad. I know, talking about real life. Oh man, he is my favorite too.
Kevin Conroy's my Batman.
As far as ratings of Batman things, like you said, it's not the best. I agree. It's very mid tier. But the animated series is like, in my opinion, the greatest Batman thing to ever be made. I think it's like a great mix of what makes him Batman, like true to the character. I feel like Batman wouldn't say this or do this. You can say that in the Nolan movies and in these movies, the newest one. But I feel like that animated series, they had such a strong understanding of the character of Batman and Bruce, and so yeah, that's my favorite too.
I think it's the purest somehow iteration of Batman. It just feels correct.
Yeah.
To me.
Well, yeah, it's he's done it for so long. Yeah. Video games, movies, everything.
Yeah, the animated film was great. I mean, Batman Forever is maybe not the best cinematic version of Batman, but the crazy thing about this to me is that there's so much money behind it. The casting should work in theory. Val Kilmer as Batman, yeah, that works. He seems like kind of an asshole millionaire type. I get that casting. Jim Carrey as the Riddler, yeah, all day long. But it doesn't work.
Tommy Lee Jones. He's the worst. I mean, him and Nicole Kidman.
Tommy Lee Jones.
For me, the worst part's the unbearable part of the movie. And I don't know why they made Two-Face so similar to like the Joker and Riddler. You kind of feel like both the characters are like playing the Joker. It's really weird.
Yeah,
and they have like
totally. He's like a cut-rate Joker, and I think that's part of the overriding criticism. Is like, well, you don't really make this anything unique.
Yeah.
And I love looking up like ancient beef. Ancient beef is like my favorite subgenre of shit to talk about on this podcast. But when I was like, why is this movie so bad? Like, what's the history and why this movie sucks so much? It sounds like part of it was down to people really not getting along, right? It was one of those things where like Tommy Lee Jones, Jim Carrey apparently hated each other, did not get along, really bad vibes on set. And there's this quote from Jim Carrey to Tommy Lee Jones where I guess he told him at some point, I hate you, I really don't like you, I cannot sanction your buffoonery.
Sanction your buffoonery.
I cannot
That
sanction
sounds
your
like a Batman
buffoonery,
line.
which is like just
that's
the
what
most
the Riddler should say.
amazing.
That is what the Riddler should
Right?
say
Better line than anything
to
in the movie,
Two-Face in the
probably.
movie.
Yes,
But I'm back pocketing that for later. Like, I cannot
that
sanction
is
this buffoonery.
that is a great line. I'm familiar with that too. Yeah, and then like you said, notoriously Val Kilmer was so difficult to work with. Like Joel Schumacher hated working with him. So you think this cast is just like all behind when the cameras are off, just so much disarray, sadly. But I honestly think it's not the writing choices are bad, but I actually think Chris O'Donnell's Robin, besides the goofy things like where they make him call him Al and the earring and all the weird things, like I could see him being a good Robin if they like had a good direction for him in the movie. I mean, the Ninja Laundry scene alone. So I had a defunct YouTube channel where probably about 13 years ago, where I literally just put that clip of the movie and titled it "Why Chris O'Donnell is No Longer in Any Good Movies," and it was just the scene. I mean, and I feel bad because I'm sure he's a nice guy, but that scene is just so bad. Like, how could anyone watch that and be like, yeah, I could see him being good in this film, and or that being on his like sizzle reel. Or, yeah, it was just awful. I don't know why that's put on camera.
It may have been a career ender for poor Chris
terrible.
O'Donnell.
He's doing fine.
Yeah.
Though. He's recovered.
I'm sure he's fine. I maybe he'll have like a Brendan Fraser-esque comeback. Maybe people will be like clamoring for him to
That'd be
make
great.
a research.
He always seemed like a nice dude.
Are we
Yeah.
really comparing him to Brandon Fraser?
Why
Ryan's
not?
so bad at
Why not?
the face Ryan just made.
Why not? Chris O'Donnell
Wow.
songs? Everyone wants a Chris O'Donnell songs.
How do you hate
I'm
Chris O'Donnell?
down for a Chris O'Donnell songs, but Brandon Fraser like could anchor a franchise.
I like how you're right. You're right. I like how you just took that phrase and just I'm down with the Chris O'Donnell songs. But
I'm basically helping out Brandis because she would be incensed right now.
She would. She is like the number one. She's like the president of the Brendan Fraser
oh,
fan
so
club.
she's happy about his. That's awesome. No, I watched that not GQ. What's the video series where they do the iconic roles or whatever, and it showed him talking about all the movies, and he seems like a super nice dude. You can't edit that. I mean, he just seems like a genuinely nice person. So yeah, I'm happy too. But you have a co-host who's like top of the club, Brendan. Awesome.
Yeah.
We should probably. No, I think I wanted to say one more thing just on the movie in general, just because they stole from The Dark Knight. I don't know if you, and I just noticed this for the first time when I rewatched it. But the big sequence at the end where he's like, you have to choose between this or that. Who you're going to save? With Rachel Dawes and Harvey Two-Face, Harvey Dent. Like literally the Riddler, that's like the big thing at the end of the movie. He has to choose between saving, I forget her name because she's such a terrible character,
Chase
Nicole Kidman,
Meridian.
and Chase Meridian or Robin. Right? They took that and they're like, yeah, we're gonna reuse that. So honestly, Batman Forever did a lot for the Nolan trilogy, and I think that's a terrible sequence in the movie too. You can see they just did that to like. I don't even know. He's wearing some weird outfit again, and there's all these bright, shiny lights. It's so not even exciting. The whole end of the movie is not exciting at all. Like, They drive in vehicles to the Riddler's hideout. They get blown up right away. It's so boring. Like, and as a kid, I remember it probably just from the shiny lights, thinking it was so cool, but it's very boring.
Who does he choose?
I don't know. He ends up, yeah, he ends up like saving them both, I think, somehow, but.
Okay, well, that's disappointing. I wanted to know if Batman was like bros before hoes. He seems like a bros before hoes type. I'm just saying.
Especially because she likes to call them bats.
Well, her name is Chase Meridian.
Can I just call you bats?
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. The movie is what it is, but we can talk about more songs if you want.
Well, I just wanted to bring up some casting things before we move on to the music.
Okay, let's stick with it.
Would this movie have been better with Ethan Hawke as Batman?
Was that a possibility?
He turned it down.
Wow.
Yeah, there was quite a other people mentioned in the cast. Didn't actually who man, I'm blanking on the Nolan trilogy. The main
Christopher
guy?
Bale?
Yeah, Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, yeah. Christopher Nolan. Christian Bale.
He auditioned for this movie, and like for the Robin part too, I thought, or both, or something like, or was it Batman Forever? I don't know. Yeah, there's a ton of names involved in the casting. Would Ethan Hawke be better? I'm trying to think of what movies Ethan Hawke was in it during this time.
See, I feel like
Dead Poets Society? Where's Dead Poets Society?
Yeah, maybe Before Sunset era Ethan Hawke kind of thing.
Let's see.
95.
Yeah, I thought it was really strange that he was considered to be a Batman. Like, I feel like his career has been such like a slow burn that it's like
so indie. Yeah, I don't see it.
Maybe reality bites.
I don't see it. I see him as so connected to like, I don't know, slacker generation type media. Like, I don't see him as this
the billionaire side playboy
billionaire type. Yeah, like I don't see him as that archetype. That's kind of an odd choice to me. Again, on paper, you think Val Kilmer is going to work great, and maybe he would have under different circumstances.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think on paper, who are some of the? Do you know some of the other choices, Ryan? I have to look it up. I can't remember, but there's a ton of names that were.
I mean, I think there was interest in Keanu Reeves, Alec, and William Baldwin.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and now wasn't one of the Wayans brothers cast as Robin?
Yeah, Marlon Wayans. I think Leo was at one point talking to Schumacher about being in the movie.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor.
Oh, that's always. No, really? That was a possibility?
I could see him with the long hair, tendrilled bangs look. Is that?
And this is all for Robin. Leo was considered for Robin.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah.
It's a lot of Robins. It's long.
Mark Wahlberg, Corey Feldman, Corey Haim.
Corey Feldman.
Jude Law, Alan Cumming, Christian Bale.
Jude Law? Jude Law was considered for Robin?
Yep.
You know, we needed a hot Robin.
And they tried to make a cameo for Bono.
That's true. I remember reading about that as well. Yeah, as like his Mephisto character, whatever that he created for the Zootopia tour.
Yeah, I started reading about it, and I'm like, no, this is some Chris Gaines nonsense. I can't do this.
A role for Bono. That would have been ridiculous. Wow.
The 90s R&B girl group In Vogue has a cameo in this movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They're like some girls on the street, like waiting to see Batman. So it's just like a quick cameo, but I think that really tells you how like peak 95 we are with this film. Like, we should do. We're throwing Brandy on the soundtrack. We're gonna have In Vogue.
Is that the scene where Robin steals the Batmobile and there's like a bunch of people outside and stuff?
I believe so.
I could see that. Okay, I have to rewatch that. Yeah, they I'm sure they had other ideas too for weird celebrity. Yeah, the movie's it's so weird. It holds no real. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It doesn't seem, looking back, like really like they tried to make a good Batman movie. I guess we could probably honestly say that. It's just a conglomerate of marketing and Warner Brothers.
Yeah, it seems like they just took too many notes and tried to shove it all into one movie.
Mm-hmm.
Big time corporate energy, big time like market research energy. Like we're gonna like market research this thing to death, and we're gonna make toys, but we're not gonna actually stop to consider whether we should do any of these things.
Right. Well,
Whether it's good.
So the main characters, the only casting we haven't talked about is Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey was the movie pretty much, right? It was pretty much a Jim Carrey comedy movie starring Batman.
And they wanted
That's what
Robin
I feel.
Williams originally.
Yeah, that's right. I think Jim Carrey does a good job being 90s Jim Carrey. I don't know. Is that controversial to say?
Well, it's probably better than Schumacher putting Michael Jackson in the movie.
What?
So I was looking
Michael
at the tracks.
Jackson lobbied hard for the role of the Riddler.
What?
I
That's
forgot
how
about
insane
that,
this
too.
movie was. Also, Kelsey Grammer, Mickey Dolenz, Matthew Broderick, Phil Hartman,
Cool.
Steve Martin, Adam Sandler, and Rob Schneider were also considered.
Kelsey
No
Grammer.
citation, though, so Wikipedia could be pulling our legs.
Kelsey Grammer as the Riddler
Stop.
seems ridiculous.
Kelsey Grammer is the one for me too. Really? Frasier, the Riddler.
Toss salad and scrambled eggs.
It would be a much different take on the Riddler.
That's so weird.
He would not have that bright
So
orange
weird.
hair.
He's
I mean,
just
Kelsey
balding.
Grammer
He's just a
doesn't really have
balding
hair at all.
mullet. No, he just has a balding mullet. I mean, no offense, but do you think he'd wear the weird pink wig?
Uh,
I mean, I think he would if they were going to put him in Batman.
the green spandex.
That's so weird.
I'm very disturbed by these choices.
I don't. Well, but he would also not sanction Tommy Lee Jones's buffoonery.
No.
That's true.
He wouldn't sanction. Yeah, he wouldn't. Well, he wouldn't sanction Jim Carrey's buffoonery, but he would be
This
the
feels
Jim
like the
Carrey.
worst.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Ugh, this is like the grossest game of Would You Rather.
I really want.
So there
Kelsey
could have been
Grammer
worse
now.
choices, guys.
No, what I'm saying is, I
No.
actually think they nailed the Jim Carrey, like for what it was of the time. I feel like. That's kinda
Yeah,
what
he
they wanted.
understands the assignment.
Yeah. He's
His
just,
manic
you
energy
know,
is a lot better than Tommy Lee Jones's manic energy.
Yeah. I think that's because
Yeah, I mean, it really prepared him, I think, for his role as Dr. Robotnik in Sonic.
So funny enough, that's how my son got into Jim Carrey. He's 10, and
I've heard the
And,
Sonic
No,
movies are
I get
actually
it.
not that bad.
they're
I have an
actually
8-year-old,
they're actually
so-
really enjoyable. My son loves them. He's a big Sonic fan, and that's how he was introduced to Jim Carrey. He's like, "I love this hilarious Jim Carrey guy, Dad. Have you heard of him?" And I said, "Well, yes, of course, son. I've heard of him."
Oh,
You know,
I've heard
some
of
of the, and I have, we have a bunch of the movies, but I don't know. I felt like, I don't know if he loves comedy stuff, but so since I've shown him the Sonic movies, I've showed him like Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura. I don't think we watched The Mask yet, but those like 3 movies of like, those were like my childhood. But so I finally did show him this movie not too long ago because I'm like, yeah, hey, I got to prepare for this podcast. And he's never seen he likes Spider-Man, but he's not really super into Batman. And so I showed him the movie and he's like, yeah, Jim Carrey, he's so good. Everything he does, he's so funny. So I think they
yeah.
accomplished that. That's pretty much it though. But to some people, it's probably horribly annoying and they can't stand the movie, So
Yeah, I think this movie was
That's
trying to
fair.
capitalize on a bunch of like star power. Like
Yeah,
that was
but
the
you
only
gotta
consideration.
control it. Yeah,
Like,
but you have
Tommy
to
Lee Jones, great in The Fugitive. Let's put him in this movie.
Yeah, he could be chasing down Batman the whole time. It'd be perfect.
His casting is the casting that makes the least sense to me.
Agreed.
Because
Yeah.
I think they could put a lot of people in the Harvey Dent role. And for some reason, they decided to go with Tommy Lee Jones. I think it was just kind of like a calculated maneuver of who are the biggest names right now in like 1994.
Yeah.
Who we got?
Yep. And you can see where that gets you. See the product. But I think obviously movies maybe a little bit, but I think they've learned a lot since then. They really do a lot more as far as the casting. But I think it's the studios are learning too. Like obviously superhero movies since 95 have become a whole new thing. What other superhero movies were in this 10-year span? Was there like 5 or 6? X-Men hasn't come out yet, Spider-Man hasn't come out yet, so you had like Batman and Superman every once in a while.
Yeah, and Superman hadn't
was
shown
that
up
it?
for a while.
No, Superman, no. So, yeah, people would be outraged now if they came out with a Batman movie that was just, let's just throw some people together in a room that are really famous, and I don't know, it'll sell tickets. Because people,
The one thing that I will say is that I do think that there's, with some exceptions, like, the Thor movies and stuff, I feel like there is a seriousness to superhero movies that the Nolan movies started that
Yeah.
this definitely doesn't have. Like, there's no stakes to this other than how many Happy Meals do we sell? Like, it's not trying to be cinema.
No, it wasn't.
It's just supposed to be entertainment. Whether it succeeds at being entertainment is a different conversation, but at least it's not overly serious. Whereas I think a lot of the movies that we've ended up with that are superhero films now, I don't know, I feel like I have to be like very serious when I watch them. Like, there's a
Right.
discourse.
This in
Right,
'95, you could still do characters without any backstory. Like, I remember watching The
Totally.
Crow, and like one of the bad guys is like, all I like to do is like steal and kill. Like, I have no other motivation in life. And I feel like you could do that with
But
like
it didn't
henchmen,
matter.
It was like,
Yeah. It did, exactly. Everybody was kind of like a little bit of a cardboard cutout, and that's okay. Like, that's its own, type of entertainment, but it's not trying to be like high art. I don't want to see the Schumacher cut that is supposedly like darker and grittier. Like, I don't give a shit about that. This is
I
fine.
think Tyler's seen it.
I kind of do. I kind of really do. You see, where there's like that big bat and like Batman's coming face to face with it. There's a bunch of talk that online and like the producers and people that work on the movie, so it's supposed to be actually like really good. I'd see it. I'd watch it. But I do want to go back to Happy Meals because you said Happy Meals a minute ago. Do you remember the mugs from the Happy Meal toys for this movie?
No, I don't think
man.
so. Enlighten us.
They were a point of contention between a friend and I because like my friend had all four, the Riddler, Two-Face, Batman, and Robin. And they were like actual glass mugs that were like formed to the character. I remember one of them had like a really jagged edge. It was very dangerous. But it was a set of four, and he like had them all displayed. And he's like, yeah, I got them all. And I could never get them. I'd go to McDonald's and I'd try to, do you have the Riddler today? And they're like, no, we don't have it. And I never had all four. And it made me sad. But he was kind of thrown in my face a little bit. He also had the Batman Forever blue light up Batmobile that I always wanted to. So.
Wow.
Oh, that's a shame. You should go on eBay. Although, if it makes you feel better, I did read a thing that all those glass cups from McDonald's are mostly just lead.
Yeah, just literally cancerous. Okay, yeah, probably.
Right, so at least you didn't get lead poisoning. That other kid,
That's
though.
true. That's true.
I just think it's weird that McDonald's would give you glass and a Happy Meal.
Oh, that's what I mean. I mean, they were. I can't remember the character. Was it Batman? It was borderline like a sharp part of the cup. Like it was hard. It was uncomfortable to use, but he's like, yeah, it's awesome. Even though it hurts, it's so cool. The Riddler one I had, and I did like I had the Riddler one. That was pretty cool. But they were glass. They weren't just plastic cups, and they weren't just like toys. They were dinnerware. Like you could put it in a china cabinet almost, and just.
Yeah, I remember that era where they were selling like collectible glassware.
Yeah, it was next level for the Batman, like a toys, in a Happy Meal.
Merchandising.
Yeah, you can look them up. Okay, should we talk about this music at all? Do you want to talk about any of this?
I do.
I think we need to go back to music. Ryan, I feel like you have more to say. I feel like you're holding back a little bit.
Well, I like the music double what you like the music, Nicole. I like it twice as much.
Well, then you should have twice as much to say. Sing its praises.
So I remember my friend had the soundtrack, and I remember hounding him to make a cassette copy for me because I really wanted the Sunny Day Real Estate song and the Flaming Lips song.
Amazing.
So for those of you who don't know who Sunny Day Real Estate is, they were a band from Seattle. And they put out an album in '94 on Sub Pop called Diary, which is kind of one of the cornerstones of like the '90s emo, early 2000s emo movement. They broke up in 95, and the drummer and bassist ended up joining Dave Grohl to be like the first version of Foo Fighters. So a lot of people got into Sunny Day Real Estate because of that connection, myself included. And so this soundtrack had at the time an unreleased Sunny Day Real Estate song called 8, which would eventually come out on their second album after they broke up. But for me, I really wanted the song, and it totally doesn't fit on the soundtrack.
Mm-mm.
No, not at all.
And it's got like this weird, like quiet, like intro before like it jumps into the rest of the song. Not that it matters, because I think if it's in the movie, it's for like 10 seconds and it's the quiet part. But you know, it was a big deal for me at the time. I was like, oh, cool, Sunny Day Real Estate's on the soundtrack and the Flaming Lips are on the soundtrack. And you know, so I had to like bug someone at my school to like make me a copy of it.
Did it work? Did you harass them into making you a cassette?
Yeah, I got it. And I think I only like
Yeah.
listened to like the second half of the soundtrack because I wasn't like,
Yeah.
you know, because I could listen to Kiss from a Rose every time I turned on the radio
Everywhere.
or
Yeah,
MTV.
everywhere in the grocery store.
Yeah, really, honestly, so if you do like halfway through the soundtrack from track 8 on, you know, besides a couple of those songs, see, I really dig both those songs, the 2 closing songs. The Nick Cave song, like, kind of like scared me as a kid. Like, I was honestly like scared to listen to it.
That's
Like,
fair.
what?
Well,
This is,
Nick Cave is terrifying to children. Like, why? What child is listening to Nick Cave?
But like now,
What like 10?
but now I like put it on, man. I remember I was listening to it because I think we were talking about this. Was it this summer when we first got in contact? Like, hey, we should record something. And then I think I started listening to it again. And I this song I just kept like repeating because I'm like, oh, it's so creepy. I was driving around a campsite at night and I was like, this is so. I was camping there. I didn't just like go to a campsite and see if there's any kids around. No,
Burying a body.
my family and I were camping,
Yeah.
right? But I remember this came on and it was all dark. And so at these places, you know, there's not like street lights and stuff. Like it's so dark. And I'm like, this is so creepy. And I mean, an adult. And I'm in a car with power locks and I can lock myself in it. I'm still scared.
Well, that's why
Um,
Red Right Hand is like kind of like the theme song for all the all the Scream movies. That's
That's
also
right.
a Nick Cave song.
And that's also in a Jim Carrey movie, Dumb and Dumber.
Red Right Hand is in
Whoa.
Dumb and Dumber.
Absolutely. It's,
I was unaware of
it's
that.
when he gets robbed by the old lady. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But again, like I think this kind of speaks to some very like fringe, weird things maybe slipping their way onto soundtracks because Sunny Day was on Sub Pop. They
Weird.
were not on
Yeah.
Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Right? So somebody said, you know what we need for this compilation? We need that up and coming emo band.
Right.
We
Yeah.
need to reach out to the emo kids because they matter too. I don't know that would be considered today. I don't know.
Well, I think they thought they were probably going to blow up because I
Make it
'cause I
big.
think Diary for a long time was the second biggest seller on Sub Pop. Obviously, second to Nirvana's Bleach. I think now it's that Postal Service album. But for the longest time, it
Yeah,
was
I'm
like
sure.
it was like Bleach and then Diary.
Yeah, and I mean, that year, I think too, sort of that's the year, whatever, like Midwest and emo was starting to kind of take off, and there was some definite like emo vibes on this. Batman is kind of emo. Like I can see like a
Totally.
alternate universe where if this happened a little later, there'd be like a full emo soundtrack.
And it would be
Well-
Ethan Hawke as Batman.
Well,
And
even
we
if-
have Ethan Hawke as emo Batman. Well, we had Robert Pattinson as Batman. Like he's super emo
and
to me.
Nirvana is in the only song in the movie.
Oh, Something in the Way.
Yeah, that's literally the
There
only
you go.
song in the movie. So there you go, full
I don't
circle.
know. There's something like just like at its core, like there's very emo about the character of Batman. To me.
Absolutely.
I feel like they explore that more.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
his whole life is driven by the death of his parents, the murder of his
That's it.
parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, come on, it's been 20 years. Get over it now. You have to like be an adult.
You
Well,
know,
That is
Well,
why
to-
Lego Batman
to-
is my
to
favorite.
go, yeah, totally. I mean,
therapy Batman.
and you know what I'm saying. I'm not saying
someone's lost someone. But to go literally fight criminals on the street is next level. And I think that's why a lot of the Batman stuff lately has kind of made him really focused on the fact that he is kind of mentally unstable. Like they've really gotten into that because, well, when you think about it on paper, you're like, oh yeah, Batman, he's amazing, he's hilarious, he's Adam West, and you're like, but wait, he's going and just beating random people up, and yeah, you get why they kind of delve into that.
I forget about how much in the 90s that like Massive Attack was on like every soundtrack.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask. Do you guys? I honestly always knew this as a kid. I could not place it together, but the vocalist on that song, I couldn't tell you by name, Tracy Thorn, but you know where she's from, right?
Mm-mm.
Ryan, you don't know this one either?
Everything But the Girl.
Yeah.
Oh.
I miss you, yeah.
Oh.
So I could always connect those voices as a kid, but I couldn't. By just like looking at the notes, I couldn't.
Fascinating.
But that's a cover of a Marvelettes song.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Factoids. Got it. That's the weird thing too. So that's a cover. The Offspring is a cover, and the Michael Hutchence of INXS is a cover.
Yes.
That was weird too. Really weird.
A lot of covers, but it also kind of makes sense, right? Because maybe they, whatever, went to these people and they're like, we don't have an original song for you, but I can cover The Passenger and it'll be bad.
It is really
you like
bad. It's really bad.
Smash It Up is not bad.
I love it. That was my favorite. Like that was the one I would go to.
That was good.
That was the one I would repeat all the time as a kid, and I had no clue who the band was at 8 years old. I'm like, this is fantastic. This punk rock band, The Offspring, and I had no clue it was a cover. Like this is just a great song, and I've probably
If that got even one child to be into The Damned afterwards, then it did its job.
One child.
Just one child.
I didn't end up appreciating Massive Attack until much later in life.
Yeah, totally. But the music on that's really cool. I enjoy the music. I don't necessarily love the lyrics or the vocals per se. Sorry, Tracy. But that's one song I wouldn't like destroy and never listen to again. But it's not my favorite. The Massive Attack and Tracy Thorn collab. The Eddie Reader one can go to the sun forever. The Devlin song and the Hutchence Passengers. So it's like a bad Nine Inch Nails song.
Oh, it's so bad. It's this whole
The
thing of like
production
people
is
trying
so
to
bad.
be industrial. Oh, it's so bad. I hate it so much.
This is for The
most
Crow,
cringy.
right? Now it's for Batman. Oh, I thought
No,
this
it's
was
so
for
bad.
The Crow.
No, it's really bad. But no, I really love the Offspring song. I really love the Nick Cave song. The Mazzy Star song. For a Mazzy Star song, I think is very mid-tier.
It's No
I just
Fade
think
Into
the
You.
same. Oh, that's a fit. Oh man, that's a good song. Yeah. So again, in the era of CDs where you can skip songs, this was like
Right.
perfect for me because I'm like, I love a lot of these songs. I'm skipping some of them, but and the PJ Harvey one is really cool. And it's a really interesting track too, where you have like the huge U2 anthem and then that just cuts in. It's kind of a short song. But that's a really we didn't talk about the Brandy one. Did we talk about the Brandy one?
We didn't talk about Brandy. No. Let's talk about Brandy.
We don't talk about Brandy.
We don't talk
Sorry.
about Brandy.
Bad joke. So she kind of, I guess her and Method Man, they're the R&B hip hop representation to the soundtrack.
Yeah, this song was written by Lenny Kravitz also. The music's fine. Her voice is fine. And I never realized this, the vocals the lyrics are just really dumb.
So Ryan, I think, brought up a really great point. So we're in the age of streaming, and I tend to forget that, back in the day, you just see a track listing and you would go, oh shit, Sunny Day is on this? I don't know this song and I need it. I think this was maybe even like pre-pirating, right? So you couldn't even,
Totally.
so you couldn't even like LimeWire any of this shit to find out if it was worth your time. You just had to buy it. So execs know that. And I think they probably paid less for these really mid songs from some of these otherwise great artists. And I think that's why it doesn't hold up and maybe feels a little frustrating from like a modern lens. Like, okay, well, this is not a good Mazzy Star song at all. It's not my favorite Nick Cave song by any means either.
Exclusive to this soundtrack, though.
But it's on the soundtrack and it's exclusive, and you're like, okay, I can't hear it anywhere else. So
You'll not hear this Nick
I'm
Cave
gonna
song
buy it. I'm gonna roll the dice because I'm a fan.
anywhere else. No. It's so weird. I forgot about that too. Yeah, the Nick Cave song is completely just for. I mean, because there's a few songs on here that are on other things. You know, the U2 one was on their compilation. The Bad Days was on another Flaming Lips album. But yeah, there's a good handful of ones that are exclusive to this. And then, you know, even now with streaming, I mean, you brought up streaming, you can't stream soundtracks, you know, because of all the rights and stuff. Like, you literally have to go buy the compact disc or buy like the entire thing on iTunes for like $15 or $10. You cannot just like cherry pick the song.
Or hope
So
that
they
someone on
still have-
Spotify has put a playlist together.
They still have their clutches around the mighty dollar when it comes to you have to give up money to listen to the songs. It's kind of weird. It's kind of unique. But
Does anybody know why you can't stream this soundtrack in its entirety anywhere? Like, what is the why? Because you can't. It's
no,
like
there's
not,
so many
it doesn't-
soundtracks like that.
Yeah, it's
Haven't
a
you guys
rights
covered-
issue.
I think you guys have done a couple. Like, I think that's the way with Space Jam. That's the way with a lot of anything in the '90s, because all those rights were like the artists. They had like exclusivity deals, so they would like make it for a soundtrack. You could only get it on
and
the
they
soundtrack.
expire.
Yeah.
It's just wild to me because it's such a like big blockbuster film. So I can see it with smaller films where you wouldn't have that unlimited rights usage to all of these songs, but it's just like not there. It's very
It's just not
strange.
as beloved
It's like
enough
that.
for them to keep paying for the rights. So like you can find The Crow.
Totally right, because people love that soundtrack and people love that film. So it's a different. There's motivation behind
You
it.
say people don't
but
love
still,
Batman
like,
Forever?
it feels like, oh, we're missing this.
I think people love
artifact of
certain
the-
songs from Batman Forever.
The funny thing is, this has had 2 vinyl reissues as well. There's like a blue and silver, like one disc is
No.
it's two discs because it's 14 tracks. One's blue and silver, one's purple and green. Because I still have that original CD that I got from the catalog, but I'm like, should I get this on vinyl? Would it be fun to
Yeah, you'd have
have?
to skip those tracks.
Yeah, I know. I'd have to pick up the needle. Ah, man, the poor Devlins.
Were they for Record Store Day? Were they like limited releases?
I don't think so. No, I remember I bought the Space Jam one on Record Store Day, and then I sold it because I'm like, why did I do that? Do people
Should have
like-
sold it to Brandis. She loves
Does
that
she love it?
soundtrack.
Does she love it?
I
Well, I
covered
love
that with
Michael Jordan. I
Brandis.
love basketball. I grew up in Illinois. Basketball, Michael Jordan, all that. It was like so many things were fantastic about that. But then, yeah, I'm like, there's not that many great songs on here that I love. So yeah. But no, I don't think this was special edition release. I think this is just because so many people demanded, we want Batman Forever. It came out and people bought it in 2 different vinyl editions.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think like you people are probably looking at it through like it's the McDonald's glass. It's like, oh cool, like I think I do need this. I have nostalgia for this.
Did you
I-
say
I
you
have,
people? Did you say you people?
Yeah, you people. People like you.
Wow.
No, I wouldn't say you. That'd
Wow.
be weird.
You people, you Batman Forever people?
You comic book people. I feel so out of my depth in this episode, by the way, because I feel like I'm not
There's
entrenched
probably
enough.
tons of people who have that nostalgia kick for this soundtrack because
Yeah.
if they were in, between 10 and 16 years old when this came out, they probably bonded over this with friends and listened to half of it and forgot that
You threatened
other half
someone
is-
for it.
I didn't threaten him. He was bigger than me.
Oh, I thought you said I threatened him to make me a.
No, I
cassette copy.
hounded him for it.
Oh, okay. I'll have to rewind. I'll listen to it later.
All right, Tyler, last question.
Sorry.
So I'm trying to come up with like a fun last question for every guest that we have. What Spoon song would best fit the Batman Forever soundtrack?
Such a good
Oh
question.
wow. Hmm. I gotta take a second.
This is like you're taking this really seriously.
This-
I feel like the Jeopardy music
Oh, I'm
should be
taking
playing.
this very seriously, and we're talking about this set of 14 songs. Like, what Spoon song would fit on here and somehow like try to like save it? Are you saying?
Yeah, like if you took a time machine back to like this soundtrack
Okay.
meeting and said, "Hey, there's this band Spoon, and you got to put this song on there. I'm from the future. They're great."
Okay. Does it have to be from the 90s, like their 90s early?
No,
album?
any Spoon song.
All right, man.
Anything.
I'm gonna take a few seconds here.
And Nicole, you can also.
You know, I'm like thinking about it too. I'm like, where
I
would
came up
put
with a
it?
question, but I don't think I have a hard answer on this yet.
Okay, I'm thinking. I'm gonna do Everything Hits at Once.
Ooh, okay.
It's a really emotional
That's a good
song.
answer. Why that?
It's a really emotional song. You know, the parents dying is still stinging. Don't say a word. The last one's still stinging. The last words were like, "Hey, I gotta leave the opera, Mom and Dad. I'm scared." And they're like, "All right, fine." The whole last moments just keep, everything hits at once. Like, I have to be Batman now. I have to beat up criminals now to avenge my parents' death, and it's emotional. And that is my dead serious answer.
That is a great answer.
Yeah.
That is like a knowledgeable, like that's an answer from a person who runs a Spoon podcast.
Hey, I thought about it. I had to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think something from Girls Can Tell or They Want My Soul would be kind of my two albums that I would be pulling from.
I know. It's kind of like, could there be like a Bruce Wayne scene to like Lions in the Suit? I don't know. For some reason, like older Spoon is pinging for me.
I could see like a fight or a Batmobile chase to Outlier.
Well, since we're on that record, what about Rainy Taxi? It's kind of a dark.
Yes.
Actually, that could be like a goth. That might be my answer. I'm gonna change my answer since you brought up They Want My Soul.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. The vibe of that is correct.
Okay, now I don't have the editing technology to do what I said before with Riddler, but I think I could probably find a montage of a Batman, like in the Batmobile, to Rainy Taxi. I think I could do that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be great.
No one would want that.
I want that.
I want that. Britt Daniel wants
Two
it.
people.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of his dreams is being a Batman.
He'd be like, and then they can pay me Warner Brothers money for that song. Well, anyways, thank you, Tyler, for being on the podcast.
Oh man, it's been such a good time. I appreciate it for having me. And again, Batman Forever.
It was so much fun talking Batman Forever with you, even though we got on some kind of weird tangents.
Yeah, I mean,
Whatever. I didn't complain about you two nearly as much as I could have, so you're welcome.
So anyways, Tyler, if people want to check out I Turn My Podcast On, how can they find you?
Yeah, the podcast is on all podcast apps. And that's just, you'd search I Turn My Podcast On. On Instagram, it's at I Turn My Podcast On. Twitter is at Turn My Podcast On, where I'll post updates when new episodes come out. And there's random like Spoon fandom discussions and lore. And yeah, check it out.
Very cool. You can check us out on Twitter if it still exists at soundtrack_your.
I was good. Yeah.
On Instagram at SoundtrackCast. If Twitter dies, we'll be on Hive or whatever everyone else jumps to. Hopefully as SoundtrackCast. You can support us on Patreon. We are at patreon.com/soundtrackyourlife. We'll have exclusive episodes. We have one coming up before the end of the year where we're going to kind of talk about the end of the year in music and soundtracks. And if you do the $8 option, you get a Soundtrack Your Life sticker. So anyways, thank you again, Tyler. And hopefully we'll have you back soon.
Thank you both.
Thanks for joining us this week on Soundtrack Your Life. Make sure to visit our website, soundtrackyourlife.net, where you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. While you're at it, If you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too.